Okay, so nails are prepped. Now you're ready to apply your nails. I have already done a few of mine. I left a few blanks so I can show you guys how I do it. I'm going to show you two different application methods. Really, again, it's kind of trial and error, whatever works best for you. The first method I am going to show you is the normal Jamberry method. So here's my little wrap. You can see how I have it cut off from the sheet. Next, what I do is I just cut it in half because I know I only need half for one. I put the other half to the side, and then I just peel the wrap off the backing. Now the thing about this is you just want to make sure that you don't actually touch the adhesive with your fingers. I'd make sure that I just touch the very end of the wrap, because the very end of the wrap is actually just going to end up garbage anyway after you file it. So I just make sure I touch it. I feel like I have better control of the wrap when I use my hands as opposed to tweezers or the scissors or an orange stick or whatever. So that's just what I like to do. So next I am going to hold the wrap in front of the heater for just a couple seconds. It doesn't take very long. Just want to heat up the adhesive, and then next step is to just lay the wrap right down on your fingers, close as you can get it to the cuticle. And then I swipe from the cuticle down the center, and then I rock from side to side. And then I kind of just rock side to side a few more times just to make sure that there's a really, really good seal on there right around the edges, the tip of my nail, and then I'm going to heat it up just for a couple more seconds. And then that is when I am going to kind of just go over it one more time with my cuticle pusher just to make sure that I got everything nice and down. Go over the tip of my nail. I just kind of push that down a little bit farther than I wanted to. And then just to make sure that everything is nice and sealed, you do that. Once you have the nail wrap applied, got mine a little too warm. It's a little flimsy. I trim. So I'm just going to trim the end of my wrap just a little bit so that the excess comes off. Down one more time. And then I'm going to let that cool for a couple minutes. You don't want to file immediately after applying it. You kind of want to let it cool down just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to my thumbnail, and I'm going to show you guys a little trick that I found with my thumbnail. Because obviously, like my thumb in particular, my nail bed is more of a square shape. The ends of the wraps are rounded. So obviously if you're putting a rounded edge onto more of a flat edge, it's not really going to sit flush. So what I have learned is, get my wrap cut up here. I kind of just trim, I take my manicure scissors and I just trim a little bit off that bottom rounded edge of my nail wrap to make it flat. And that's going to help it sit a little bit more flat to my nail bed and not stick out as much as it would if I kept it rounded. So now that I have that done, I am going to peel this nail wrap right off the backing. Again, being careful not to touch any part of the nail wrap that is actually going to touch the finger. I'm going to do this one a little bit differently because I want to show you how you can apply it cold, not heating it up first. So I didn't warm this wrap up. I am going to place it on my thumb. Not heating your nail wrap first is great for beginners. And again, I'm going down the center and then side to side. What using the cold application really helps with is, especially if you're more of a first-time Jamberry user, it kind of gives you a little bit more control with your wrap. So if you put your wrap down, don't have it completely pushed down and it's not exactly where you want it to be, it's a little bit easier to lift it back up and kind of shift it, as opposed to warming the wrap first. Once that adhesive gets sticky, it's really hard to kind of pull off of there. So this is a really great technique if you're just starting out until you get a little bit more comfortable with applying your nail wrap. So if you do the cold application, you're going to want to warm it up once you have it on, because it is heat activated, so you do want to get that wrap nice and warm in order to get really nice seal. And again, just kind of pushing it down, rubbing it down a little bit, making sure it's nice and stuck on there. And I'm going to show you guys one more application trick that I have picked up from scouring YouTube for application videos once I get this one trimmed. So we've got the thumbnail nice and on there. Take my cuticle scissors, trim it a little bit shorter so I don't have Medusa hands going on with my nails. Something that I was noticing when I first started using Jamberry nails is I was having some issues with my tips lifting. Like I would go to scratch my head or scratch my arm or something, and my tips would just lift up, or they would catch on things. So there's this amazing little trick called the plastic bag method. All you need is a Ziploc bag. And what you want to do is you want to take your finger, put it in the plastic bag, and then you want to kind of wrap the bag as tight as you can around your nail, especially at the tip, because this is really what we're using this for. You want to make it really tight, make sure the tip is as tight as you can get it, and then you're going to hold it in front of your heat source for just a couple seconds. I like to leave mine just a little bit. What this does is it kind of basically vacuum seals the tip to your nail. This has made my application last so much longer because my tips no longer start to lift after a couple days just from normal wear and tear. This has worked wonders. So kind of vacuum seals it. I'm going to do that again with my thumb. Get it real nice and tight. Hold it in front of the heater or the blow dryer, whatever you choose to use. Get it nice and sealed. And then our tips are nice and sealed. So that is the plastic bag method. So next, after you have applied your nails, sealed your tips, I can actually turn my heater off now because I'm finished with that. Again, see how quiet that heater is? You can't even hardly hear it, and you can hear me just fine. So the heater is fantastic. So the next step, obviously, once you have your nail wraps applied, you want to let them cool for just about a minute. What I usually do with mine is I will go through and I will apply my entire hand. I'll do all the steps I just showed you. So applying, pressure, heat, trimming, and then the plastic bag, and then I will let that kind of cool for a couple minutes while I start on my second hand. I'll usually get a couple nails in, and then once I get a couple nails in, I will go back to my first hand. So you will want to take your nail file and just going in a downward motion. You do not want to go up. You don't want to kind of saw it. Just straight down motion on your nail. And you just want to file that excess nail wrap right off the end. And eventually it is just going to fall right off of there. See how it's kind of, see it kind of hanging down on there? You just want to keep doing that over the entire length of your nail. Sometimes you got to get into those corners a little bit to get them off of there. That's off, it's kind of just hanging out there. And get any extra. That nail is done. Move on to my thumb. And same thing, just downward motion all the way across your nail. Starting to fall off there, you can kind of see. Again, I gotta kind of get into that corner a little bit. I don't file my nails straight across, I just don't like it. So, and voila, that fell right off. So, nail wraps are on, entire hand. The last step that I do, not everyone does this, I like to take my buffer block and just kind of buff the edge a little bit. Again, just in a downward motion. You don't want to go up and down with this, just straight down. And I just like to buff the ends just a little bit, just to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. And that is it. That is the entire application process.